Well, hello, welcome to Talk Time. And this week we are going to take a hard look at Menzgold, its operations, and the anguish in the general society. We're going to focus a lot more on the legal aspects of the Menzgold saga. Short break.
I'm home. I'm coming to me. Oh, into that market honey, sir. Dang.
Tasso. So when you mean this will be a bit of the Hanuma, can one carry an asset? A day, pay your answer, young man, master.
Oh, what happened? Try me, maybe. What for cocoa bit? When it's blue, and answer, some legend. Young Casabe may say, what for cocoa capsules? A dray and number 2, and you minute 2, and your friend say, Calamity 2, driving me, what ten a jum was sitting to me, Neduma. When my draw will be a, was sitting but down, Amadeus or the what the
a drawing and ya ma a pin for, one warmer and manu for, and name more fra when you fear do me.
Ghana Faja to Munti, cover 4 at the say, Male.
Oh, back.
Well, hello, welcome back to Talk Time. And this week, as I indicated, we are going to take a hard look at Menzgold, its operations, and the anguish in the general society. We're going to focus a lot more on the legal aspects of the Menzgold saga. And today, we are particularly privileged to have with us in this studio a very, very distinguished legal practitioner. Legal practitioner, so many other things. He's been a playwright, he's done so many things. Even attempted to be president of Ghana before. And I'm talking about Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey, barrister at law. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I hope you've been following the Menzgold problem. So what are your general impressions to start with?
First of all, I'm very grateful to you for the opportunity of coming to share with you and viewers this current major issue that is bogging the minds of Ghanaians. But let me start by saying that I was in this country when a company called Piram came up and created an impression that if you wanted to make fast money, you should go to Piram. It ended in a disaster. Then we heard of God is Love, we heard of DKM, and other companies. And now the latest, as it appears to be, seems to be Menzgold. I was in the office when I was approached by some soldiers that they put their money in Menzgold. So this disaster has happened, so I should take Menzgold to court. Now, when I looked at the whole matter, at one stage, I was asking the soldiers that, look, if you have money, why don't you work with the money? And you rather want the money to go and sleep somewhere so that you just be sitting down chopping the money. It doesn't work that way. Because in Europe and in America, before you can make profit of even $1, $10, or 10 euros, you really must have used the sweat of your brow before you can earn profit. So if anybody tells you that, bring me money, and within 1 month, I'll give you 30% interest, 10% interest, you must start looking at it with suspicious eyes. So while this whole Menzgold thing, from what I hear and from what I think I have seen, they were operating on a very interesting strategy. You go to them, they are not a bank. They will say that we deal in gold. So go and buy gold from some place. Bring evidence that you have bought gold. Then the gold that you have bought, supposedly will be brought to them because it's their subsidiary company. And then they will trade with the gold. And then the profit that they will make, they will pay you interest. And Kwesi, this is where the trouble comes in. Because, look, I hear in Ghana over 1.6 million customers. And the monies that they talk about is staggering. Even though I'm a lawyer who is supposed to see a lot of money, the monies frighten me. One soldier, who is my client, invested over 200,000 cedis. So I was asking myself, a soldier, 200,000. And he was explaining that it is monies he got from selling some properties here and there in order to invest in this business.
Some actually took loans.
Some actually, yeah, from what I hear, some actually took loans from microfinance companies to invest in Menzgold. So I asked myself that the supervising companies, the regulatory bodies, and ultimately is the Bank of Ghana, what role were they playing? Bank of Ghana has a lot of regulations for all financial institutions. And lately, Bank of Ghana is in the news of having closed down many local banks for non-compliance with their own regulations. So how could they have looked on for Menzgold, or for that matter, any other financial company that is probably doing something similar, but not yet broken off, so we have not heard of them? What is Bank of Ghana doing? Their supervisory branch or their department that ensures compliance of the rules. What is that department doing? In fact, I said somewhere that...
Yeah, but the company was arguing that it was not a financial institution.
Well,
it was only trading in gold, and it claimed that it had a certificate to that effect.
And that is where the problem comes in. Because they create the impression that what they were doing is perfectly legal and that they have not breached any rule. Fine. If so, and I will not hold brief for them, but if so, then they are liable for their indebtedness. They must pay their customers. And where they get the money from, I'm not interested in knowing. Only that I want my client's money. You must pay. And so we end up finding, where did the money go to? Is it in acquisition of cars, acquisition of houses, acquisition of landed properties, or what? Where is the money? At any rate, if you are saying you are not a financial institution, you are not a bank, you are not a savings and loans company, but you are just operating normally, fine. Then pay your debts. It's as simple as that.
What if they don't have the money to pay?
Well, if the company says you don't have money, fine. The shareholders of the company, we lift the veil, go beyond, go to registrar generals and find out who are the directors, who are the shareholders. Then we seize their properties.
What if they declared bankruptcy?
That would be interesting. That would be interesting, but I don't hope that will happen, because if they declare bankruptcy, that will be a disaster upon disaster. But I don't think that will happen. It's unfortunate, Kwesi, but I think I've been seeing interesting articles in the newspapers about why an ordinary person would want to invest so much money in an uncharted area. The banks are there. I won't mention any particular bank, but the banks are there. If you take your money there, at least if you don't have any business for it, you can leave your money in a bank. But if you go to a non-financial institution and you want that company to do business with your money and bring you profit, I find it hard to believe. Because Kwesi Pratt, let me confess to you that some foreigners come to Ghana in droves and they make so much money and go away. And then we, the local Ghanaians here, we seem to be asking ourselves, knocking our heads up and down, there's no money. Life is hard. There's no money. So, I don't know, are we expecting that we will lie down for money to fall into our hands or what? Because the little that I have known in life is that you must work to earn revenue. And working to earn revenue does not necessarily mean going to work at 8 o'clock and closing at 5. But it means constantly engaging your mind in ventures like you're doing in television business, you're doing in newspaper business, you're doing in theater, you're doing in petty trading. Try to generate some form of economic activity. Of course, you have to pay your taxes, you have to pay staff salaries, you have to pay overheads, you need an office space, you need transport, you must pay petrol. But it is the doing of these things which totally account for generating economic revenue. And if you don't want to do that and you want to sit down, fold your arms and say that, oh, I have 1,000 cedis, who should I give it to? So that he would rather make magic with it and then bring you profit. It's a far cry.
Captain, we are living in a country where we believe in money doubling. Even if you're watching television, there are all kinds of people on television claiming to have the capacity to double money through magic. And people are flocking to them. You know, so if you can believe that you can use magic to double money, why wouldn't you believe in Menzgold?
Well, it's unfortunate. Only yesterday, I happened to be in some church. I went there to see somebody. I was amazed to find that during working hours, over 2,000 people, Ghanaians, able-bodied, were sitting there listening to a pastor talking. And I was asking myself, working hours, you are here. Well, I am a Christian. I mean, make no mistake. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. But I don't believe that I should spend working hours sitting there somewhere doing what? Because it is the same God who tells us that we must work and earn revenue. We pray every day that God should bless the work of our hands. But instead of going to work, you go to sit somewhere hoping that magic will be performed, hoping that a miracle will happen. I'm not too sure.
This whole apparent scam appears to have been fueled by endorsements. Endorsement by big chiefs, big-time musicians and big-time politicians and so on. Those who did these endorsements, do they have some liability under the law? Can they be held accountable for you know, sending the wrong signals to the population?
I doubt whether, legally speaking, we can hold any of them. Because if I, for instance, Effah Dartey, I stand somewhere to say that, hey, have you heard of Kwesi Pratt television station? Is the best in Ghana. That is my view. It may or may not be accurate, but that is my view. If it turns out that Kwesi Pratt television station is not the best in Ghana, you cannot say that Nkravia has deceived me. You cannot say that. Because that is my view. So if somebody says that, oh, Superboating, I think that Menzgold is a correct institution, that I encourage Ghanaians to go and invest, and they are loyal, and it turns out to be untrue, you cannot blame him.
What about the angle that these celebrities and so on, have a huge following, and that their followers listen to them, and they fraudulently deceive their followers? Don't they have a duty of care, to their followers and so on?
I'm sorry, maybe what they have done is to dent their own credibility. But beyond saying that, I don't think the law can hold them, because if you are a celebrity, if you are a big man, if you're a man of respect in society, people listen to your word. People try to listen and follow your views. Then you have a duty to be honest to yourself, to maintain high your own sense of integrity. So you talk less, but anything you say, people know that you are serious. So if, for instance, the managing director of Public Services Commission, who is expected to be the apex of all the civil service personnel, opens his mouth to say what he does not know, to say what is not true, people will write you off. That man is not correct, and then you are finished. And I have realized that in life, integrity is priceless. If people can say behind your back that, as for Kwesi Pratt, when he says yes, it is yes, then you've made it in life. But if people say that, oh, that man, Yafusu, then you are finished. And I find life interesting because they will not say it to your face.
That's true.
They will not say it to your face. I was amazed when today is Thursday. On Monday, a client told me, "Oh, Captain, I'm happy." I said, "Why?" Then she said, "Oh, I've asked so many people about you. I've done my own due diligence about you, and I'm happy with the comments they made." In fact, when she said that, I felt goose pimples on me, because she doesn't live in Ghana. She's in UK. She came here for some business, and somebody brought her for me to do some service for her. So when she gave that small testimony, I felt touched. And this is what makes life, should I say, interesting. And because of comments like this, Kwesi, you are bound to make sure that you are honest in everything you do. After all, nobody will take you to court if you tell the person that, "I'm sorry, I don't know. I cannot comment on this one because I don't know. I don't have the facts." But if you can boldly say, "Oh, Menzgold is correct. Menzgold is not like Piram. Menzgold is not like DKM. Menzgold is..." Look, I encourage viewers, I encourage the listeners to go to Menzgold. And then 2 months later, the whole thing blows up. They say, "Oh, well, Captain was saying this on television. Captain, forget about it." Then you are finished.
But Captain, you were talking about Piram, God is love, and all of that. It's happened before, and it's happening again. What should we, as Ghana, do to protect innocent citizens from falling victim to such scams?
You've had a very big question. I wish to God I can have an answer. Because the other day I was driving from court and I saw demonstrators on the streets of Accra. I read in the media demonstrators in Kumasi and other areas, customers complaining. So what can be done? And you can only make a recommendation when you know the cause of the problem. And what is the cause of the problem? The desire of people to make cheap money. And I think in respect, you may not agree, but in respect, that is why I seem to like NPP administration. Because since NPP came to power, the talk in town is that life is hard. Life is hard. Are you sure life is hard? Life is hard if you are not working. Life is hard if you are not using money to earn money. Life is hard if you are not making sweat to earn revenue. Then life will be hard. But all those who are going about their duties, yesterday a businessman was telling me that, look, NPP administration, business is booming. Business is booming. So long as you are paying your taxes, you are doing this, the opportunities are there. So my first recommendation for the avoidance of this type of unreliable areas or unreliable ventures is that get up from your seat and move. Do something. If you have even only 10 cedis in your hands, ask yourself, what can these 10 cedis do so that I can earn 1 cedi on it? What can these 20 cedis do so that I can earn 2 cedis on it?
Yeah, we can sleep in Menzgold and I can earn 5 cedis on it instead of 1 cedi.
Well, then take it there.
When all the big men in our society, the politicians, the people who even work in the regulatory institutions and so on, are saying that, hey, it's nice, it's cool. Well, why wouldn't ordinary citizens think that that is work?
And that is why I'm saying that it depends on who is advising you, Kwesi. And that is why you must ask yourself a simple question. Who is advising me to do this? Is that person himself involved in it? And all those celebrities we were talking about, how many of them had their monies in Menzgold to go through this? Because I have no doubt in my mind that any correct, serious businessman will not send his money there. Because already he himself is paying taxes, he's paying state contributions, he's paying water bills, he's paying electricity. So at the end of the day, when his accountant brings up all the bills and the balance sheet, the profit margin is very small. But the only good thing is that he is in business and services are being provided. He is seeing results. So he's moving improvement. He's making improvement. His money is not lying idle. Businessmen their monies cannot rest at all because every minute something has to be done with the money. And people like that will not take their money to Menzgold. No, not for one bit. So if somebody like that is not advising you, will Osakwame despite advise you to take your money to Menzgold? Because Osakwame despite he is rumored to be one of the wealthiest people in Ghana. But I know I was one time his lawyer, and I can assure you his money hasn't got time at all. His money, he's busy with the money. And I'm sure, Kwesi Pratt, you are busy with your money. If you have.
When I find it, when you give me some, I try to make it busy. Anyway, viewers, we're going to take a short break here. We are in conversation with Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey, served in the Ghana Armed Forces, has done many things. He's a playwright, he's an actor himself, and also happens to be a lawyer and was one time a presidential aspirant. And we're looking at Menzgold and we're trying to see the legal ramifications of all of this Menzgold, business. When we come back from the break, I'd like to find out from Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey whether indeed government has some responsibilities. Because there have been calls on government to pay the clients who have lost their monies. Does government really have any responsibility with regards to this Menzgold saga? Short break.
The Bridge Kiddie tab is your best gadget option for the kids. It is a real tablet with a lot of educational and entertaining apps. It is very strong and durable. Bridge Kiddie tab, the best learning companion for every child.
Well, hello, welcome back to Talk Time, and we are in conversation with Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey, very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, we used to set the same decks in the Ministry of Fuel and Power many years ago. But he's a lawyer and a distinguished one at that, and we are looking at the legal ramifications of all of this Menzgold business. Now, Captain, does the government of Ghana have any responsibility? Customers want their monies back and they think the government should find the money and pay them.
Well, I'm sorry to disappoint viewers, but the government of Ghana owes no obligation whatsoever to any customer of Menzgold to pay him a dime or a cedi, not in the least, because you went yourself to Menzgold to have a contract with Menzgold, and Menzgold is not a government company. Government has 0% interest or 0% shares in Menzgold. Menzgold is strictly a private limited liability organization. So if Menzgold has incurred a liability, it is up to them to sort out their mess. Government of Ghana has not got any obligation whatsoever. If, God forbid, touch wood, a company like National Investment Bank incurs debts, then the government of Ghana has a responsibility, because NIB is owned 100% by the government of Ghana. And so the government of Ghana appoints all the management personnel. And so the bank is responsible to government. But Menzgold is like your television station, Pan-African TV, or like my private law firm. We are both registered. We pay our taxes, our financial. So if you incur losses, I'm sorry, go home and cry. But to say that the government of Ghana should step in to salvage your mess, no, it never happens.
Doesn't the government have a responsibility of protecting its citizens from fraud and other crimes?
Yes.
No matter the gullibility of the citizens, government still has a responsibility of protecting them.
Yes, to the extent that Ghana government has regulations. And you see, that is why, for instance, you cannot just get up and say that. The other day I was telling somebody that America is the freest country on earth. But if you like, go to America and say that you want to set up an insurance company. You pass through so many regulations that you might end up being frustrated. And you say that I can't do it. Now, the reason is because regulations have been made to ensure that only genuine, serious, traceable persons can operate businesses. So, for instance, in Ghana, you want to set up a television station, fine, by all means, go ahead. But you must register the company. You must get a license. You must do this. You must do that. Even after everything, some people calling themselves Environmental Protection Agency, they say you need environmental license or certificate or something. And there are all these regulations go to protect the society, so that even, I'm sure here, this your television station, you are bound by fire safety regulations. So you cannot, fire service people can come and close down the whole station because you have not satisfied their regulations. All that is, in my view, governmental regulations to protect the ordinary man. Beyond this, Kwesi, I don't see how you can. But
were there regulations, and were the regulations enforced? That's the critical question.
Now that is why I began by saying that if you remember in the early part of our conversation, I was talking about Bank of Ghana as a regulatory body and whether their department was working as they ought to do. Because if indeed they were working, then I'm surprised about these hiccups and these lapses that has resulted in so many people losing their monies. Because if the statistics that are in the air, that Menzgold has over 1.6 million customers. 1.6 million customers. And even assuming that each customer just put in just 100 cedis, not to mention those who invested over hundreds of thousands of cedis.
Millions, actually.
Then you are talking of a lot of money. And how can you say that a company in Ghana is managing funds, monies, on behalf of their customers in huge quantities like this, and they are outside the apex of Bank of Ghana? I don't understand.
Yeah, but everybody's talking about Bank of Ghana. What about the Securities and Exchange Commission?
Well, I will not be able to talk much about Securities and Exchanges Commission, except to say that all the financial companies, all the financial institutions in Ghana, their boss is Bank of Ghana. And I am not sure I'm wrong in that. The Bank of Ghana is in charge of all our monies. And they must make sure that all regulations, all rules, all practices, all usages in the financial sector go according to law. And if I see any loophole anywhere, me, Captain, my first victim, the first person I will attack is the governor of Bank of Ghana. Did you do your work well? Did all those departments under you operate as they ought to do? If yes, there should be no problem. But if not, then there's a problem somewhere.
So if some of the citizens approach you and say, look, we put 500 million in Menzgold. We want to engage your services as a lawyer to retrieve our monies for us. What would you do?
Oh, I think I began by saying that some soldiers came to see me.
Yeah, but what would you do? In a very hypothetical case, I don't want to talk about the case of the soldiers. Here is Captain in Krabia Effah Dartey, lawyer. And I've come to you and I say, look, I put $1 million, 1 million cedis in Menzgold. Please, can you help me retrieve the money? What would you do?
Kwesi, I will do what every lawyer knows that it has to be done, which is, originally, one would have written a demand notice letter that, hey, dear sir, demand notice. I came to you in June. I deposited an amount of $1 million, and that amount you have defaulted in paying me interest. I want my money. I'm giving you 7 days. If you don't, I'll go to court. We call it demand notice. Every lawyer will do that. Formerly, that is what we used to do. And in fact, currently, that's what we do. But in the case of Menzgold, because now the situation is, should I say, gone, the situation is now unruly.
Who is going to take your demand notice? There's nobody to take your demand notice. So what are you going to do? Yeah.
So you will not write any letter. You go straight to court.
Yeah.
Now, when you go to court, you go to court by issuing a writ of summons, backed with a statement of claim, stating all these points, how you became a customer, the monies you have paid, and so on. And then you file it. And don't forget, the filing fee is not easy. If my understanding is correct, is 1% of the amount that you are claiming. So, after you have filed it, the next problem will be service. And you cannot do the service alone or yourself. It has to be done by the court officials, whom we call bailiffs. The bailiff, after 3 attempts to serve Menzgold, if they don't succeed, they will file a process we call certificate of non-service. When that is done, then you, the lawyer, like me, will do a process we call substituted service. You go to court for permission to serve Menzgold by substitution. Now, substitution includes putting a copy on the notice board at the High Court, going to the registered office of the company and putting a copy on the door of that building. It includes serving any adult that you see in the premises. And the court will say that in given a situation like Menzgold, you should make an advert in the newspapers, possibly Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, or any newspaper of the choice of the court. And after a number of days, if Menzgold does not react in spite of this method of substitution, then you go in for judgment. After you have taken judgment, you try to serve what we call entry of judgment. If you don't succeed and the bailiff files certificate of non-service, then you go back again to serve entry of judgment by substitution. And that substitution again includes the method I suggested: notice board, the building of the office, and any person there. Now after that, if still they don't react because it appears Menzgold is, in inverted commas, a ghost, then you go to court for permission to lift the veil of Menzgold and attack the directors or the shareholders. And the Registrar General is supposed to have records of all companies doing legitimate business in Ghana. So the court will then give you permission, then you serve them with the notice of entry of judgment. And if they don't react, then you attach their properties, then you sell them.
But this is not an easy process, Captain.
Yes, it is not an easy process.
And in the final analysis, you may find that there are no properties to attach.
Well,
or that the properties to be attached would not yield you enough to be able to recover.
Well, then maybe I regret to say that given such a scenario, as you are saying, then you are at a serious disadvantage. But in a situation like Menzgold, I understand that Menzgold, some of the directors invested their proceeds in a lot of companies and in a lot of structures and institutions. So you can lift the veil with a court permission. And I hear even a television station is included in one of the properties of some of the subsidiaries. So you can attach them.
The television stations don't have anything to offer. The cameras don't cost that much. The cameras don't cost that much, you know. Television stations are just full of debt, you know. Anyway. So, Captain, this is where we are. Do you think that our law enforcement agencies have so far acted in the best interest of Ghana with regards to this Menzgold saga?
Well, the little I have heard and seen, I think they are doing their best, because I understand Iyoko, for instance, has gone inside and has even seized some properties. I understand the Ghana Police Service has secured a warrant of arrest of Nana Appiah Mensah, the director. I think they are doing their best, but the environment, you know, the legal environment is not that easy. And I say it's not easy because you are not expecting Nana Mensah or Menzgold to sit down just like that. They will react. They will fight back. And for as long as we have lawyers and we have laws in Ghana, it's interesting. But I would say the law enforcement agencies, apart from blaming Bank of Ghana, I would say that they're doing their best.
Now, You spoke about removing the veil, the veil that covers the directors and so on. Why can't you simply go to the Registrar General and obtain the details of a public company? Why do you need a court order to unveil the directors of a company?
Oh, because when you go to Registrar General to register the shareholders of Pan-African Television, it's not supposed to be a public document that is that will be splashed in the media for everybody to know in Ghana that Pan-African Television station belongs to Yabuatin or Kwesi or Joe Boatin. No. But with a court order, Registrar General is supposed to release those documents immediately. So it's confidential.
Now, the liability of the directors, what is the nature of the liability? Is it criminal liability? What kind of liability do directors have?
Now, you see, every company is owned by shareholders. Now, I always describe a company as an egg. And when you break the egg into two, you take one share, I take another share. So we 50-50. Or you have 70, I have 30. Or you have 80, I have 20. But we are the shareholders. So, for instance, the two of us can form Water Bottle Company Limited. And we call it WBC, Water Bottle Company Limited. And we say that this Water Bottle Company Limited, you have 80% shares, I have 20%. Now, even though we are the shareholders, the management of the company will be done by directors. So the two of us will then have to appoint directors. Now, shareholders need not be directors. Shareholders can be directors, but they need not be. So the two of us can decide that, let's appoint these two gentlemen as the directors. So these two gentlemen will then be the directors of the company. And as directors, they will be in the front line. As directors, they will manage. They will appoint employees. They will take policy. All that directors are responsible for is to report to us, the shareholders, that at the end of the year, we made so much profit or we made losses. So, in the event of the company like Menzgold running into difficulties and the company being taken to court and the company incurring debts and so on, then in lifting the veil is not being lifted for the directors or against the directors, but against you and I as shareholders seated at the back. Nobody knows us as owners of WBC. All they know is that Osei is the managing director of Water Bottle Company Limited, and Ofusu is the company lawyer, this, that, and they are the front line. But when you lift the veil, then they are no more responsible. You go to the shareholders, and because we are the one who call the shots, we can change directors anytime at will. And in a situation where you as a shareholder, you also happen to be a director, then you are wearing two gloves, you are wearing two shirts. So they will remove one shirt and attack you for the other shirt you are wearing. That's how it works.
But the liability, is it a criminal liability or what? Because
it can be both.
Okay. Yes.
It becomes criminal when you have not followed the laws. So, for instance, as a Water Bottle Company Limited, you are supposed to seek Ghana Standards Board certificate or license. You have not done so, and you are marketing it on the street. You are supposed to seek Food and Drugs Board license. You have not done so. So this is criminal liability, and this one, they will not attack the shareholders, they will attack the directors. Because you are in charge of these matters. You have to make sure that this is done. If you are the managing director of a hotel and you are not paying the Senate contributions of your staff, you, the managing director, you'll be picked up. Criminal liability. Now, the civil liability comes also when you, as a water bottle company limited, you sell an unregistered water and somebody drinks it and suffers something and takes you to court. Then the company will be mulcted in damages, and the directors have to make sure that it is paid off. But if they say judgment has been given against Water Bottle Company Limited, it does not mean judgment has been delivered against you, the director. It only means the company. And if the company is unable to pay, then you lift the veil, and then the shareholders. Anytime veil is lifted, it is against the shareholders. Except that in this part of our world, most directors are also shareholders. That's where the confusion comes in.
So we've spoken a lot about the legal responsibility of shareholders and so on. What about the economic implications of this gigantuan, how do I call it? This problem. I was going to say fraud, but let me say this problem. What are the implications for Ghana, of such a thing?
The implications, interesting implications. One of them is that, in my view, the interest rates has to be looked at again. So, for instance, I expect that if any institution announces that it can give you 10%, 30% interest on your investment, Bank of Ghana should immediately come in and find out, where did you get the money? What type of business are you doing? Because you immediately raise the cash flow for the business, and that will disturb the economy. Secondly, I think for the economy, the regulatory functions of Bank of Ghana and the other institutions like EOCO, Securities Exchange Commission, BNI, and the others also come into play, that they should be more involving. They should open their eyes more. I would also say that, again, the Registrar General's Department, I wonder how strong it is and how deep they are in checking these subsidiaries and the way they operate under the supervision of their master companies. The economic implications are many. But I think overall, what it means is that Ghanaians should learn to use their money more than to deposit it somewhere and expect profit.
I'll take it to money doublers.
I'll take it to money doublers. No.
Well, viewers, this is a conversation about Menzgold. Its aftermath, if I may say so, and the full legal ramifications of what is unfolding before us. And we are lucky, perhaps privileged, to have with us Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey, a barrister at law. He's been so many things before, but today we're dealing with him as a barrister at law. We'd like to take a short break. When we come back, I'd like to ask the final questions. And one of the final questions is simply going to be, does the politicization of such scams make sense? And should we encourage it? Short break.
Ben, that prayer, Yatra Mr. Kim, strong showing every year.
Oh, Kusia, a member, Ghana Limited for Akofaba, the Piasso Bomitisu, and he said, because so much Madame for Adolf. And what Trem said, a draw, Mr. Kill, Nico Cosson, And he said, no, no, so no.
It's right. Sit down on your 1 million and run it down and put the service on your back.
Mr. Kill. Mr. Kill.
Come in.
Yeah. Oh, don't let. Say that here. Mr. Kill. You should back up. And not the crowd. You know, baby, the men come out. Mr. Kill. Oh, yeah, Kill back up.
I give you all a boy could give you.
Well, hello, welcome back to Talk Time, and the person in the seat is Captain Nkrabea Effah Dartey, a barrister at law, and a politician, politician of no mean repute, having attempted to be president of the Republic. Now, Captain, politicization of these kinds of scams, does it make sense? Should we encourage it?
I think that it would be very wrong if we want our society to move forward to politicize every issue. I'm talking like this because when you go to Parliament, I was in Parliament for 8 years. When you go to Parliament and you see the way NDC MPs and NPP MPs, the way they eat together, the way they chat, the way they move together, the way they cooperate on issues, it doesn't make sense for those of us outside to brand every issue as an NDC inspired or NPP instigated, or to see things in political colors. If we do that, our nation will never develop. We should look at issues just as they are and criticize it. And then we in NPP will say that we want a free market economy. We want strong private-based economy. That is the vehicle to develop our nation. NDC can say that they want a more socially controlled economy, and fine, we can debate ideas. But let's look at issues as they are, without any political color. The issue is Menzgold. Were you granted a license to deal with people's monies? If yes, did you follow the regulations? If no, you are guilty in law and you should be dealt with. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter whether Mr. X or Mr. Y, who is this or who is that, is behind the company. No. If you are in trouble, lift the veil, attack the shareholders. If we do this, then we can make progress. But if we say that, oh, this is political, this is MPP controlled, or they were doing this in NDC time, I don't think we'll get far at all.
So your party was wrong when it blamed the NDC for DKM and God is love and all of that.
Well, if you say my party was wrong,
I'm just asking questions, my brother.
Oh, well, I am not aware that the NPP National Executive Council took a policy decision that DKM or God is love or this or that. I'm sure one NPP functionary or one NPP communications spokesperson made a comment like that, and I think he's entitled to make it as his personal view. But the NPP National Executive Council never came out to politicize anything like that. No.
I will allow that. I've heard calls that Parliament should investigate these matters and establish the facts. Do you think that Parliament has any locus?
Oh, if you talk of locus, yes, because Parliament has a right to talk about anything anywhere in Ghana. Even if you go to my village, well, it's not a village. If you go to my town, in fact, I'll call it a city. If you go to the city of Jinijini and you see that something is happening there, Parliament has a right to go and investigate. So, to the extent that over 1.6 million customers, Ghanaian citizens, have had their fingers bent with Menzgold operations, I don't think it would be wrong if Parliament sets up a parliamentary inquiry into Menzgold and to find out exactly what happened and what are the possible remedies to prevent a future occurrence. I don't think it is wrong for Parliament to make an inquiry, even though I will not recommend it.
Why?
I will not recommend it because I think that anybody whose fingers have been burnt by Menzgold, take Menzgold to court and get your money. And the regulatory bodies, and by that I mean BNI, Yoko, Bank of Ghana, if you think that Menzgold was operating without the proper legal regime, take them to court and deal with them, period. You know, this idea of coming to investigate, and for me, I think it will be a waste of time and resources, because let the law take its course. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but Parliament will be acting within the framework of the law.
Yes.
The law will be taking its course. So why do you think that it will not be?
That's what I'm saying. The law taking its course is for BNI or IOCO or Bank of Ghana establishing clearly that our regulations have been breached. If your regulations have been breached, report them to the CID, the Ghana Police Service, and let them, the Attorney General's Department, let them arraign them in court and prosecute them, period.
Well, thank you very much, Captain. Thank you very, very much for coming to the studio. Well, viewers, we've come to the end of this discussion of the Menzgold saga, its aftermath, and legal ramifications. I've learned a lot from this conversation, and I do hope that things have become a little clearer for all of us. Please don't forget to keep your dial on Pan-African Television, because it's certainly the up and coming, indeed it has arrived, television station. Best in current affairs, provides best in news, best in entertainment, best in everything. So please stay with us until we meet again on Talk Time next week. It's bye-bye from all of us from Pan-African Television, especially from our producer, director, Comrade Mr. Adam Lumo. Bye-bye from all of us from Pan-African Television.